Well, how are we doing today, folks? Minor car maintenance today. We need to do an oil change on the 1999 Mercedes ML320. Not a difficult job at all. I've shown you this before, so I'm sorry if it's repetitive, but some people can't get enough of the car stuff, so we'll show some more of it. This is relatively simple to do. Here is the oil fill on the top of the engine here. This is the oil filter housing right here. So I don't have to try to get a filter off from underneath. I just have to take the drain plug out from underneath, and I'll show you that in a bit. Basically, all you need is 2 jugs of Mobil 1 0W40 European car formula full synthetic oil. That's the recommended oil for this vehicle. It gives you a good 10,000 miles protection. I really only do this once a year because I don't put that much more miles on this car. So it's a bit more expensive, but I figure if I'm only doing 1 oil change a year versus with traditional oil maybe 3 times a year, so it'll balance out. And you need 2 5-gallon jugs because I think it's 8.5 quarts that it takes. I'll double check that and get back to you. It's a big oil sump for what's typical in a vehicle. Usually you figure 5 quarts is an oil change, but this is more. So, and then the filter that we're going to put in, because you're always changing the filter when you change the oil, is a MAN filter HU718/5X. That's the right size for this engine, this 3.26 liter. And I'll show you where when I put that on, that'll go on there. So just showing you the parts. I'll come back when I'm underneath the car and taking the drain plug out. I'll show you what we need to do with that. So hang in there as we do our oil change. The good thing about this Mercedes is, first of all, the front end is high enough because it's all-wheel drive, and the oil plug is close enough to the front of the bottom of the engine that I don't have to put it up on a lift to try to get underneath it. I can just crawl under without having to elevate it, and it's still angled enough that the oil does come right out. So that's also a plus with this. It's easy to get at, easy to work on. All right. Just very quickly, the tools that you'll need for this, nothing major. To take the filter cap off, the filter assembly off, I just use one of these oil filter wrenches. You just have to be a little careful, and I'll show you when I do this. This is plastic, so you don't want to bear down on it like you would if you had a metal oil filter that was going to be disposed of. You need to save this top part, so just be a little gentle with it so you don't crack the plastic. The filler plug wrench is 13 millimeter. I'm just using a ratcheting wrench here. It shouldn't be a big deal to get off. I love this little cobalt set that I got as a Christmas present a while back with these ratcheting wrenches. It works great. Sometimes I don't need to use a socket set then to do that, socket and ratchet. And then I have just a rubber mallet if I need to tap the thing to loosen the bolt on it. And then of course a drain pan. So we're getting ready to go. Okay, here I am. I'm under the engine. You can see right, I'm trying to be able to see this. Right there is the drain plug. Let me see if I can get a little more illumination on that from the light I already have. Sorry for bumping around here. There, you can see it right there. I'm only about a foot underneath the engine. Now, the one thing I do need to do, if you see these hoses here, what they recommend doing is so that they don't get oil all over them and wear more than they should, is you just wrap them with something. I just usually take a couple grocery bags and just wrap it around just while it's draining. It's not a big deal, but just trying to protect them so I don't need to replace hoses. So that's what's oops, sorry, trying to do this one-handed underneath the car isn't that easy. So that's the goal, just to get at that 13 millimeter, as I said, and then we'll wrap these real quick. I'll come back to you and show you that. Alright, sorry the camera angle's weird here. As you can see, it's draining out. Oil is dirty. But while this is continuing to drain, I will take the filter off and change that. Just one caveat here. I had trouble with the 13 millimeter getting in at the right angle. So I cheated and went to my ratchet and socket with the extension so I could be behind all the now we're going to cross members there, and that got it off. So if you need to do that, just do that. Still 13 millimeter socket. I'll see if I can do this one-handed. Again, I want to grip tight enough that I can get it, but I don't want to. Okay, it's coming loose easily. You do have to make sure when you're putting this back on, you turn it all the way down or you'll have a leak. Sorry if this isn't the best picture. I'm trying to hold the camera with one hand and turn this. But, oops. But, yeah, I can get it by hand now. So, I'll show you if you've never seen this before, what this whole setup looks like here. Some people say take the cowl off before you do this, but I found you don't always have to, as long as you can get this out. And yeah, it's a drippy mess, of course. And I am going to, I usually keep a bucket handy. So what I'm going to do here, so I don't drip oil all over the engine, turn the camera off, use two hands and put it right in the bucket. So this filter comes in a pack like this. As you can see, that's the main filter, and there's also a little packet of O-rings, a series of O-rings that go on here. I'll show you where they go in a second. The other little tool I use to remove the O-rings to make it easier is a little pick like this. They're cheap to find different tool places. I think I got a set of 4 of these at Harbor Freight for a couple dollars, but they're good to pull the O-rings off. I'll show you that here in a second. I know I'm shining into the sun, I'm sorry about that, but let me see if I can't set the camera up so that you can see what I'm doing on my cluttered workbench here. Let's see. I don't know if that's going to work. I'll try and see, because it's hard when you're not right in front of the... I can just raise it up a little bit here. It'd be so much easier if I had some kind of a GoPro that I could just put on my head or something like that and set it up that way, but since I don't, I do with what I have. Okay, let's see if this works any better now. Yeah, you can sort of see that. Hopefully I'll be in the right place that you can see what I'm doing here. So here's our filter. You've got one O-ring here, 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 and then up there. I don't know why this pack that I get with this particular size filter always gives me an extra smaller O-ring. Maybe it's because it's used for a number of different vehicles and others would have an extra one. So all I'm going to do here is take my, I'm going to get messy here, but that's okay. So I have the gloves on. So take my little pick and pull the O-ring off like that. Hope you're seeing this. I can't tell for sure. Maybe I'm too close. Just trying to not make a mess everywhere here with all this oil dripping. If you're in a garage and had like a sink or something to do it in. Okay, that's the second O-ring. Here's the third one up here. They do come off easy when you have the right tool. And I don't reuse them. I change them when I do the filter change, of course. The big one at the top comes off easy as well. And then it's just a question of taking the filter, and it's held in place by friction. So it's just a question of turning it down, oops, and getting it off. So let me wipe this down a little bit and then I'll put the new one on. I'll show you, hang on. there's just no way to do an oil change without getting a little messy, unfortunately. And for the advantage of doing this on the top of the engine, that you don't need to be on your belly underneath the car trying to take it off and put another one on, I still think it's better. So, first step here, let's see here, I gotta look at the chart to make sure. Okay. Alright, I think I have that the right way. Oh, we'll see. Just want to make sure I get it up in far enough, because it has to go as tight up in there as you can get it. I think I have it. Yeah, there's two little black marks on the filter, and you want the one to be hidden, the other one's still exposed. So that's filter's in place. I'll start with the O-rings again. I'll go big to small, thinking that that'll be easier to do it that way. And these I don't usually use the tool. I just push them in with my fingernail, because I don't want to damage. I don't want to take the chance of damaging them. I want them to go on easily and be in good shape. So that one went on no trouble. Once it's in place, it's not real tight. And then I have to get the next size one is this one. This is the one that there's an extra in this kit. Again, I'm not sure why, but it's there. Okay, that's on there. And then there's a next size down for here. Just like that. And then the very little one that goes on the bottom. And I don't know what's down in the engine that's requiring these O-rings to keep it from leaking through. I'm not sure how that works, but I'm sure they're all there for a purpose, for sealing it off. So we are all done with that. I'm going to take it, and my hands are all oily right now, so I'm not going to try to pick up the camera and take it with me. I'm just going to put it back in where I took it out from. You saw that. And then I'll come back to you with the next step. If I can do this without knocking the camera down. So we're now back in place. The one thing I did want to mention, at least with my vehicle, I don't know if it's the same with all of them, you can't just hand tighten this down, because it doesn't bring you all the way down so that you get a good seal with that top O-ring. I actually had to use my tool there and tighten it down more. What I did is I popped the front of the cowl up so I could see how much I had to go. I didn't want to over tighten, but I tightened down till I couldn't anymore. I didn't crank on it, but just I wanted to make sure that the threads wouldn't turn anymore, so that the old O-ring was seated tight. Now the other thing, that I always do too, I didn't mention, is I always take the oil cap off, the filler cap off, when I'm draining it out, so that there's a good airflow through there, so that I don't retain any extra oil in the engine when I'm trying to change it. Obviously that's going to stay off now till I fill it, but I'm ready to put the plug back in the bottom and then start to do the refill. I won't show you doing that because it's relatively straightforward. It's just to put the plug back in, tighten it down, get rid of that bag and the oil pan. So I'll be back. Okay, all we got to do is refill and we're good to go. Plug's back in place, everything's cleaned up underneath. So we'll just start pouring oil in here. Just have to be careful I don't try to do it too fast. Again, I think it's 8.5 quarts. I'll double check. I know I can put this full 5-quart one in. As I get closer, I'll check the dipstick too. So, because obviously when you drain the oil out of the engine, you don't completely get all of it. You'd have to leave it drip probably overnight for gravity to pull most of it out, so to get all of it out. So I didn't do that. I just, I don't know, 15-20 minutes it was draining. It's enough to do the change. There isn't much old oil left in there, so I'm not worried about that. I do like this Mobil 1 synthetic stuff. I've gone to that with all my vehicles now. It does seem to protect well, and you get the longer mileage, so that's good too. With some of my other vehicles, although it's probably not necessary, Mobil 1 also makes a line of oil filters that are designed to go with the synthetic oil, so I've tried to use both of them. As far as cost for doing this, right now I think I paid like $27 a jug for the oil, and the filter was about $15 at Advance Auto. So you're talking maybe with tax and everything, maybe $70 for doing it yourself. Again, it's a little more expensive than a regular oil change, but given the longer life you get out of the oil and the filter, it balances out. I mean, for years I just used conventional motor oil and Fram filters and stuff, so I was doing it like every 3,000 to 4,000 miles, so, or even just 4 times a year, depending on how much I was driving. So that all adds up, even though those are cheaper. But I'm going on 155,000 miles on this engine, so I can't complain about the quality of the lubricants that are keeping it going. So I know it's a Mercedes, it's supposed to go 500,000 miles, but being that it's already 25, well, almost, I guess 26 now, because usually the new model years come out in October, and it's now the end of November. So it's a 26-year-old vehicle and still running fine for me. I've put money into it, but it's still a tank that takes me where I want to go, and even though it's not glamorous, hey, I feel safe in it, and can haul what I need to haul, and it can handle any kind of weather because of the all-wheel drive. And with the 6-cylinder engine, it can pull hills, it can carry loads. I can't complain. So that about finishes off that one. I won't make you watch me put the rest of it in. Just thought you'd be interested in the procedure, and then of course I'll put the cap back on when I'm done. So I'm going to end the video here because there's not much more to tell. I will check underneath for leaks. I'll turn the engine on, let it run a little bit. I'll check underneath for leaks just to make sure, but I think I'm good, and then this will be done for another year. Alright, well, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, subscribing, following our channel. Please hit the notifications bell when we upload more videos as we work to live out in the country, have a quality of life, but to do it on a shoestring. Thanks again.